She defied the judge, challenged the law, and even fought the baith, but nothing could prepare her for the sentence that shattered her world. The courtroom was filled with tension. Reporters lined the back wall cameras. Ready lawyers whispered last-minute strategies, flipping through thick files. The air crackled with anticipation as the doors swung open. Sloane Wexley entered, not as a woman on trial, but as a woman who owned the room. Tall, poised, and dressed in a crisp white suit that probably cost more than most people's yearly salary. She moved with the confidence of someone who had never been told no. She didn't acknowledge the row of spectators watching her, every move. She ignored the legal team she had paid handsomely to fix this mess. One she still refused to admit was her fault. The charges against her securities fraud, where fraud, obstruction of justice to her this trial, was nothing more than a temporary inconvenience, a PR storm that would pass just like all the others at exactly 9 a.m. The BFF's voice rang out. All rise for the Honorable Judge Dorian Langston. Chairs scraped against the polished floor as the courtroom obeyed everyone, except Sloane. She remained seated, legs crossed, manicured fingers resting on her knee. A flicker of amusement danced in her eyes. It was a test. Who would dare challenge her murmurs? Our eye rippled through the room. Reporters whispered frantically, sensing a headline before the hearing had even begun. Judge Langston, a man known for his sharp intellect and zero tolerance for theatrics, stepped onto the bench. He was a seasoned judge, respected, unwavering, and impossible to intimidate. He didn't react to Sloane's defiance. Instead, he let the silence stretch long enough for even the court stenographer to glance up, sensing something unusual. Then his steady voice broke the tension. "Miss Wexley, this court follows standard procedure. I expect you to do the same." A slow smirk curled Sloane's lips. Not a smile, something closer to a challenge. "I stand for people I respect, Your Honor." A collective gasp filled the room. One of her lawyers instinctively turned toward her, his face tight with panic. Judge Langston, to his credit, didn't flinch. If her words affected him he didn't show it. "That is your choice," he said simply, then turned to the prosecution. Just like that, the moment passed, no reaction, no outburst. And for the first time, Sloane felt something unfamiliar. Not power, not control, indifference. The trial moved forward. The prosecution laid out their case, presenting damning evidence. Former employees took the stand, revealing how Sloane had knowingly misled investors, fabricated numbers, and obstructed investigations. Still, she remained unmoved even as Daniel Cho, a former financial officer, testified that he was ordered to alter reports. Sloane barely reacted, but then something unexpected happened. Sloane stood up, a sharp scrape of her chair against the floor, cut through the tension. The room went silent. Her lead attorney stiffened. He wanted to tell her to sit down, but he knew better. She turned her piercing gaze on Daniel. "Tell me, Daniel," she said, voice smooth but dangerous. "When exactly did I instruct you to do this?" Cho hesitated. "Miss Wexley, I know really." She continued, tilting her head. "Was it in an email, a phone call, a memo, or is this just another case of an underqualified employee looking for an excuse?" Gasps rippled through the courtroom. "Your Honor!" The prosecutor stepped forward, Judge L., and lifted a hand. "Miss Wexley, sit down." She folded her arms. "I have the right to confront my accuser. You have the right to a defense." The judge replied, his stare cold. "You do not have the right to disrupt my courtroom." A flicker of something crossed Sloane's face. Annoyance, maybe even frustration. But she wasn't done yet. Then she did something no one expected. She turned her back on the judge. A stunned silence filled the courtroom. One of her lawyers looked like he might pass out. The stenographer froze, fingers hovering above the keyboard. Judge Langston didn't move. Face this court, Miss Wexley. She reached for her glass of water instead, taking a slow, deliberate sip. Miss Wexley still. She didn't turn. The bailiff stepped forward. Ma'am, I need you to face the judge. She ignored him, and then, the moment that changed everything, the bailiff reached for her arm. Sloane yanked it away. A sharp, violent movement. Her water glass crashed to the floor. Chaos erupted. Reporters scrambled, attorneys jumped to their feet. A security officer moved forward, hand hovering near his belt for the first time. Real emotion flickered in Sloane's eyes. Not amusement, not confidence. Rage, Judge Langston. Exhaled, his fingers lacing together. Miss Lay, you've just made a very costly mistake. Then came the sound that would change everything. The metallic click of handcuffs. Sloane Wexley, billionaire, corporate icon, untouchable force, was now a defendant in cuffs. The cameras flashed, her attorneys scrambled. One of them tried to argue, Your Honor, we request an immediate reversal. Denied. Sloane clenched her jaw, her breath tight. This wasn't supposed to happen, as the bailiff led her toward a holding cell. She turned to Judge Langston. Tell me something. Judge, she said, voice laced with defiance. Would you have done this if I weren't who I am? A long pause, a dangerous gamble, but Judge Langston didn't take the bait instead. His voice was calm, controlled. Miss Wexley, you are standing before this court, not because of who you are, but because of what you have done. The words landed like a hammer. Because. For the first time, Sloane realized she had lost the trial. Continued, the jury deliberated for less than 7 hours. Their verdict was Swift guilty on all counts. And then came the final blow, given the severity of these crimes. Judge Langston announced, This court finds it appropriate to impose the following sentence: 18 years, 18 years. The room spun. Her legal team scrambled for appeals, but it didn't matter. She wasn't going to luxury white-collar resort. She was going to federal prison. Once Sloane Wexley had dictated the future of technology. She'd graced magazine covers as a symbol of power and success. Now she was nothing more than a cautionary tale, because power doesn't protect you forever, not when you abuse it. And in the end, even the mighty fall. If you found this story compelling, make sure to subscribe to the Story Hub and press the bell icon for more stories like this. Let me know in the comments, did Sloane get what she deserved, or was the punishment too harsh?